What is going on, everybody? We are back for episode number 4 of Hobby Talk, a cardboard podcast. Was that 2? Peace sign, episode 2? It's 4.
Peace sign. No,
There we go. There
four,
we go.
two peace
Yeah.
signs, 4.
Hobby Talk, a cardboard podcast. I am your host, Murph. I am with Ricky, as always. Ricky, how are you doing on this fine? We're recording on Wednesday, but how are you doing on this fine Wednesday morning?
I'm good. It's a nice cold morning in Chicago. Not too bad. Fall's starting to come around.
Ugh, I hate it. I've given up checking the weather to see if I can still wear shorts or not. It's just hoodie and sweatpants every day until about May. That's where I'm
That
at.
means playoff baseball, football, basketball, hockey starting to come around.
It is as much as I hate the cold weather, it is a great time to be a sports fan though, because baseball playoffs, like you just mentioned, football, basketball starting very soon. I think within a couple of days. Hockey just started last week. There's just so much going on for sports, and it's just whatever sport you like, it's probably going on right now. And I think that's just a really exciting time for just sports in general. So we do have a bunch of topics to talk about in today's episode. Let's just kind of pick up with our conversation from last week in regards to the football market. We're trying to just, dabble a couple, topic points revolving around the football card market every couple of weeks as we record these episodes. So Ricky, I will ask you this question. Over the past 2 weeks, give or take, any movement in the football card market, up, down, good, bad, that you want to highlight since we last talked about it?
I feel like Joe Burrow's market is probably going back up a little bit now that they've won a couple. Let's see. Justin Fields was hot for a minute before that.
People still high.
Comeback.
People still high on those quarterbacks, and the crazy thing to me is like when they play bad, it's like the world is falling apart. It's like they're like a cancer. You have to stay away from them. It's like it's one game, guys. 2 games maybe. And with Burrow, it's like, all right, he was injured, some bad weather games, good defenses, and now he's kind of putting it together. He's too talented, and that team's too talented to not.
This market, especially football in particular, is hype driven and instant gratification driven. So when you buy a card, if that player next week doesn't have the game of his life, you're going to be upset. People want.
I feel like people are the same way with baseball.
Football week. Yeah.
So let me throw this curveball at you. What about Zach Wilson? Now, I'm not saying he's a buy. I'm not going to say he's a sell, but he's put together 3 good games in a row, and the Jets don't look all too terrible now that he's, kind of adjusted to, his new role again as the starting quarterback, but he doesn't look that terrible, and the Jets are starting to win a couple games. What about former number 2 overall pick in the draft? What about Zach Wilson? If anything at all.
Let's see. Well, I mean, it definitely helps now that he has Aaron Rodgers mentoring him and all that stuff. He has great weapons. I think he can be. He was very low around the time when Aaron Rodgers signed with the Jets. He was very low. That was definitely the time to buy him.
But
I think we learned the past couple of years.
Like, if you were buying him at that time, like, you are just holding and hanging on for dear life, and hopefully exactly, because Rodgers even said that he didn't want to be there just 1 year. If Zach Wilson's going to be a starter, it more than likely was going to be somewhere else. But my thing with Zach Wilson is, with Rodgers, seemingly on track to play this year, or at least he says he is, which is crazy. But I think having that kind of mentor just constantly in your presence, I think just really helps. And I think there was a lot of hype and a lot of excitement around the Jets. And then when the Aaron Rodgers situation happens, it all kind of disappears and people were abandoning ship. And I think Zach Wilson was taking the brunt of the blame and the damage there. But like I said, he's played a couple good games. I looked up like a Contenders RPA of his that I just had stashed for like a long, long time. It's like still $120 card just for a contenders RPA. So it's like there's still a market there, whether it's as good as we thought or want it to be, it's still there. And I think that shows that if you're in the news, because he's in the news because he's he's not Aaron Rodgers and he's filling in for Aaron Rodgers. So he's always in that topic of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I don't know. I mean, if Zach Wilson can pull them into a playoff spot, I think his market's going to shoot up high.
And they just beat the Eagles, so that was a good little boost in his prices.
That's what I'm
It's just
saying.
kind
And
of a
like
showing
Eagles
of what they
are
can do.
Eagles are regarded as one of the best teams in the NFL, and he outdueled Jalen Hurts. He beat him, fair and square. So it's like, hang on a second. Football's a team sport, but Zach Wilson didn't cost them the game, which he's done before. He looked pretty good, which he's done 3 weeks in a row now. So, I mean, if anyone's going to take anything away from this conversation, don't give up on guys too early. If you can buy into them low and just hang on to it, because you never know. Like, I'll bring it up with Mac Jones. Like, his market's really bad right now. But if they can turn the ship around, then, it's not going to be a little bad investment. It's not going to be a bad flip or whatever it may be. But it's just, I mean, as we record this every 2 weeks, I feel like there's always a new topic of discussion to talk about. Like, Brock Purdy seems like he's the face of football cards right now. He's the only one playing well, with the exception of Sunday's game. But when it
there's not too many quarterbacks playing crazy right now.
And it's still, I don't want to say it's early in the season because we're approaching the midway point, but like, what are we entering week 7 tonight? So we're a third of the way through. I mean, now is the time where we're going to start seeing quarterbacks, or at least teams, play well, that are supposed to play well, or that have been playing well. We're going to start to see the bad teams play bad like they're supposed to. There's just, things are going to start to settle. The dust is going to start to settle. Like Joe Burrow sucking the first couple weeks. I mean, we knew that wasn't going to be the norm for the season. What was happening in front of us at that time. But if we're cautious, we're patient, and brace the storm. If Joe Burrow can win that AFC North, they go on a deep run. People who bought his cards after week 1 are going to be rejoicing.
Yeah, so, he was really low a few weeks ago, so that's crazy that someone like him would have been seen as an investment even as soon as 2 weeks ago.
Like a buy cheap investment. And that's Joe Burrow, the former number 1 overall pick that we're talking about. So it's dicey. I mean, I just want people to be more patient. That's all. That's what I want people to do. Like, again, they want that instant gratification like you referred to. And half the time, I'd say almost all the time, you're not going to get it unless you buy a card right before the Super Bowl and then that quarterback wins the Super Bowl. But again, what are your margins at that point? And that's a whole nother conversation to dive into. But Ricky, I do want to talk about the Phillies. I do want to talk about the baseball playoffs because there are 4 teams playing right now. 2 of them are playing very well. All 4 of them were playing very well. Give me like a synopsis, or give somebody who may not know about baseball or the baseball card market, like a synopsis about how to navigate the playoffs. Because if I don't know a thing or two about baseball and I'm just watching the games, I see the Phillies are up 2-0. I see the Rangers up 2-0. How do I, what do I do with that? Because there's certain players that play well. There's been players that haven't been playing well. Just kind of break it down elementary style, if you could.
Well, first and foremost, I think Corbin Carroll is going to be a crazy, crazy player for his career. Him and the Arizona Diamondbacks are a great young team with a lot of potential. Maybe now that they're down 2-0, less of the focus is off of him. More of the focus is off of him and more so on the Phillies. So maybe buy a Corbin Carroll card or 2. Maybe they can tie it up in Arizona. But the Phillies
he's
are
front runner
so
for Rookie of the Year.
Oh, he's winning it. He's winning it.
So like that alone will
I don't see
hold
anyone
some
else
value.
challenging it.
I mean,
Yeah.
regardless of how the Diamondbacks finish,
Yeah,
if
exactly.
they get swept 4-0, they come back and win, whatever it may be. I mean, that alone is going to hold some. I mean, look at Julio last year. So like,
But yeah, Phillies are hot right now, and then Houston, Astros, and Rangers. Uh, I mean, I don't really see either team having a player that can ultimately go up or down during the postseason. I feel like they're all pretty, besides like Evan Carter. But I feel like
is this
they're all a bunch of veterans whose card prices and such have already settled.
so? I think two players, because I like the National League matchup a lot better than the American League matchup. I think two players in the American League, Josh Young and Jeremy Pena, are probably really the only two worth investing in. I say Young, really good chance at American League Rookie of the Year. He's been playing well. He's been making plays offensively and defensively. I say Jeremy Pena just because he's local to the Providence area. So, for me, at least in my area, he's always going to have a market. But he was hot for a while, nationally last
Mm-hmm.
year. We see if that can come back if he starts playing well like he did last postseason. But for the National League, I mean, I think there's players to possibly invest in all over the board. Nicholas Castellanos' market starting to go up. Bryce Young's market starting to go up. These guys are some gritty veterans now. You already mentioned Corbin Carroll. There's Alec Thomas, obviously,
Bryce,
a part of that. What?
you said Bryce Young.
Oh my god, Bryce Harper. Oh wow, good catch. Wow. Okay. It's funny because I was envisioning Bryce Harper too. I saw Bryce Harper. I saw that sweet lefty swing, and I was like Bryce Young. No, I was talking to somebody last night about Bryce Young in the Panthers. But
Big football guy.
yeah, well, I'm glad you caught that. Okay, Nicholas Castellanos, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner. I mean, is another one to possibly, that you can still kind of get, invested in. I haven't seen much moving on JT Realmuto's market. Not really surprised. Bryson Stott, he was just a rookie a couple
He
years
had a big
ago.
hit
Alec
last night,
Bohm
though.
a couple years ago. So, like, I don't know. The Phillies are very exciting to watch, and the Diamondbacks were too. And I mean, the Phillies, I don't even think they won 90 wins. They scraped in as a top wild card team. And here they are, 2 wins away from a World Series appearance. That's just the beauty of baseball. No one expected the Diamondbacks to be in this position the beginning of the season. And I think baseball is just a very interesting market, a market that truly lives and dies on patience. You have to be patient with baseball because at the beginning of the year, Braves, Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, Padres, Rays, even like these were all teams that people expected to be in the playoffs and expected to make deep playoff runs. And we already talked about it last
Mm-hmm.
episode. You got the Orioles, you got the Rangers, you got the Diamondbacks, a lot of these fresh, new, young teams. So, but like if you bought a bunch of Phillies or Diamondback cards, or even Ranger cards at the beginning of the season, pick whoever you want. Probably doing very well right now. And that's why baseball, you got to be patient.
It's a long season. There's
Yeah.
162 games plus the playoffs. A lot can happen.
That's the glory of
Yeah,
baseball, I think, at least from a fan perspective. You gonna say something?
yeah, and right now it's so easy to root for the Phillies. They're just so exciting to watch. They're so hot. And then my second favorite team is the Nationals. So seeing Schwarber, Turner, Harper all on the same team right now, killing it. It's kind of refreshing to see.
It's the
And then for
Nationals could
some
have.
reason, I know a lot of Phillies fans. So
That's a weird one. I feel like the Nationals just kept all those guys, or at least paid all those guys. That could be them because they also got rid of Scherzer. They obviously got rid of Soto. Um, like that could have been you. That could have been you. But
they
business decisions that we don't make.
they, they wanted to. They won in 2019 without Harper.
Imagine if they paid him and kept him. I mean, that's the funny thing. I kind of forget about that sometimes. Is that they, Harper's last year was 2018. That they won without him. He kind of gets lumped into that mold a little bit as like being a part of that team, just because he was such a staple of that franchise for so long. But no, he was gone. He was off to Philly that year, and you would have thought that they would not even have come close to winning the World Series without their best player, a generational type player, a former MVP at the time. But nope, they went out and won it. That's for damn sure.
That's like when the Braves won it without Acuna.
Yeah,
No one ever would have seen that
Acuna
coming.
played half the season. And now look at Acuna. There's like do you notice like a delay?
Yes.
Okay. Because I feel like there's like a 5-second delay. So like I feel like when I talk and I stop, I don't know if you heard me or if you have any input. So like I don't want to like wait and then say something but cut you off. So it's just a little awkward.
I don't know.
All right. I don't understand.
Just
either.
talk.
I'll talk over you. You talk over me. We talk over each other, and then we get into a good Bostonian sports debate. That's just pretty much how it is.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's one more
classic conversation.
That's it. It's like that virtual post-COVID virtual meetings and conversations that we're our new norm now is through virtual. Anyways, one more baseball conversation for you guys. One more baseball topic. Wait, what?
I remember taking classes in college like this, and there was 20 people talking over each other.
Oh my God, that'd be awful. I mean, when I was getting my master's and I was remote, there was like 20 of us, but half of them had like their camera off, so you couldn't see them. And if they were to talk, like they would turn their mic on, and that was it.
Yeah, because they were probably sleeping.
I'll admit, I was shooting hoops for one. I was shooting hoops for one class. Not gonna lie. I had the cam. I had the headphone in my ear, so I was still listening, but I was not really paying attention. But Ricky, you showed me this. Was it last night? I think it was it was last night. Another Bowman Chrome 1/1 controversy, I'm gonna call it. And I actually don't remember who the player was. I don't know if it matters who the player was, but let me just pull it up real quick because I'm trying to pull it up from the message you sent me. If Instagram wants to load. Okay, here it is. Oh, I can't even tell who it is. Oh, I can't even tell who it is. Juan Benjamin. So in the new 2023 Bowman draft product, Juan Benjamin is supposed to have a Bowman Chrome 1/1 Superfractor, as a bunch of other players. And as we know from, I'm sure what you guys have heard from, listening to last episode, there are supposedly 2 Bowman Chrome 1/1 Superfractors of some players. Well, Ricky sent me is another breaker pulling what was his name again? Juan Benjamin? I gotta write this down.
Juan Benjamin.
Juan Benjamin. I gotta remember that. And not one copy was pulled. A second copy was pulled, which we all knew about. But there was a third one pulled. What the hell is going on? This is absolutely going to probably drive a knife into the hobby, because if there's 3 of him, you have to assume that there's 3 of other players as well. Now, I think this is the first 3 copy 1/1 Superfractor that I've seen, that I've heard of. I feel like if there was more, it'd be becoming a bigger topic of discussion. But you have to think that there's 3 copies of someone else out there too.
I was going to say not.
What?
He can't be the only player who has 3 copies, and one if there's 4, one if there's 5. Like, what is?
I mean, when does it end?
What's going on right now?
Like, I understand a second copy of one or 2 players slipping out. I understand that, just because, stuff happens. Okay, we get it. You already tried to make amends by having like a bounty program and such. But three, possibly four or five of one or two or multiple players. I mean, does the weight and the value of this product like start to go down? Do people even care? I mean, are we just talking, to a friggin' brick wall with this? Do people even care? Do you think?
I feel like we're talking to a brick wall whenever we talk about quality control with Panini Tops or anyone else, because either way, people are still going to buy it.
You're right.
The centering could be 90-10. The cards come out scratched or whatever, print lines, everything. People are still going to buy it.
Yeah. It's just like I feel like okay, let's say Juan Benjamin becomes top 10 player, 7 years. And there's those three copies that are floating around. I mean, how can you really value that as a one of one superfractor card and it actually holds some weight? I mean, people are not caring about quality control and condition and such like that, except when it's a PSA 8. When it's an 8, people care and they're like, oh, it's an 8. I don't want it. Ugh. But like when it comes to something like this, they're like, I feel like they just don't care. Like, I mean, if there's one copy in Washington, one in Miami, and then another in the middle of Texas, and no one knows that these other three exist, or if no one knows where that they are, then does it really matter? I mean, it should. It absolutely should, because we care about the hobby. We care, like, hey, that is his one of one Bowman Chrome first Superfractor. That should be a very, very special card, especially if he becomes a really good player. I mean, try finding a like a Juan Soto, Acuna, Mookie Betts of the same card. There's only one out there, like there should be, and that's probably their crown jewel
I
card.
wish.
Period. But like, it's. I give Panini a lot of crap
I feel like
that they
the only
deserve.
reason that's really, yeah,
Like I give them a lot of crap, but
the
as
only
they
reason it's really
deserve it. But
known
like
that,
now, Topps and Bowman and
yeah,
Fanatics is fumbling. All right, I'm done.
yeah, they're just starting out too, so that's a tough look for their start in the card business.
It's just. I mean, are we just going to be pumping these cards out without a care in the world what we're pumping out, just to pump out cards, just to put them on the market, just for people to buy them, just so our profit margins are through the roof? And listen, if they're a business and they're starting to monopolize the hobby, which they kind of are, which is a whole can of worms for another day, then they're not going to care what they're doing. They'll give us 10 copies of this guy's one of one. They're not going to care. And do you think the bounty reward is anything to them? Like, let's just say the bounty is like $25,000. They don't care. They'll write you a check and hand it to you happily. But like, I don't want to see Topps, Bowman, Fanatics, whoever, that's all the same thing, fall into the same pit trap that made us all resent Panini. Because I'm very hopeful and optimistic that that Fanatics can make great sports cards for all the brands that they're going to be making. But when I see something like this, while Panini's fighting for their life to continue making football cards, it just doesn't look good in Fanatics' argument to remove Panini as the official, like the licensor of football cards. I know I'm kind of crossing sports a little bit here, but it's all the same thing.
Yeah, so even recently, with a drop of 2023 update, they had a blunder with the number of cards that came in each jumbo box. I forget the specific amount, but people were expecting more cards than what actually came with the box. I think it was like there was supposed to be like 300 plus cards, but there are only like 280 or something like that. But it's just a mess right now. It's not a good look.
It's and I don't think that they're biting too much off than they can chew. I really don't think so, because you would like to think it's not that hard, especially where they've been doing it for what, 2 years now, and they are trying to monopolize and get football and the basketball license off of Panini and such. Now, again, they don't have to have it perfect. There's going to be mistakes. Stuff's going to happen, and we're going to have to understand. But like another mistake on top of another mistake, I don't know. I mean, people are still going to buy the cards regardless. People are still buying Panini cards blindly regardless, even though I saw somewhere, I think it was like on Facebook, some guy bought a 22-23 Mosaic basketball hobby box, and he was saying how he didn't get a single autograph out of it. Well, on the box in fine print, it says one autograph per box on average. I personally look at that as 95%. I like to try to be very, very optimistic. You might get points. You might get a short printed card. Maybe you get 2 autographs. Who knows? Maybe you get a redemption card. But like, if you're paying that much money for the box, $200, $300, $400, $500 a box, whatever the selling point is, 2 autographs, 1 autograph, 2 autos and a patch card, that stuff needs to be guaranteed. And I think that's the bigger blunder that people are more so complaining about than 3 one-of-ones of the same player out there, and the checklist having 20 less cards or whatever it is. Is that like a fair assumption?
Yeah, I mean that's fair to think, but they get you with the fine print asterisk and all that stuff. Like on average, people automatically assume that they're gonna get whatever, which is fair to assume, but at the same time, it's not guaranteed because they said on average. So yeah, it would be absolutely terrible for that to happen to you, but at the same time, you need to know what you're getting into.
Do you think opening hobby boxes would make more sense of a financial purchase for people if these hits were guaranteed? Whatever the hit was, again, auto, 2 autos and a mem card, 3 autos, 2 patches, whatever it is, $200 box up to like $1,000 box. Like, do you think it would make much more sense for people to make that purchase if these hits were guaranteed?
I feel like it was if it was guaranteed, it would even be a little bit more money, and the boxes might cost a little more. But yeah, hmm, I think it would make more financial sense if A, hits were guaranteed, and B, if you knew what the hits were in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like look at the
Because like,
autograph checklists and all that. How many other players would you be happy with pulling?
and like that, and that's like a huge unknown for a lot of people. Is they're looking for certain guys, and I'll point to them. Oh, you're looking for LaMelo rookie. Well, you got to look at the 2020, 21 hobby boxes and products such like that, because those are his rookie cards. Now you can still pull like an out of 5, an auto, a patch card. That's not a rookie card, but this hobby is so entranced with rookie cards, it has to be a rookie card. Uh, but like, if I could guarantee you 2 autos
Hmm.
out of this box, or let me use Leaf for example, because Leaf guarantees you autographs out of their products, and whether it's like um, the Leaf base signature series baseball that has a guaranteed 1-of-1, or the new Leaf exotic baseball that just came out where you get 3 autographs, all numbered to 10 or less. But since they're unlicensed, people don't view them as good as the licensed products. But you want guaranteed autographs though, but you don't want to
Hmm.
pay for it because Leaf is typically cheaper. You could probably find any and all Leaf boxes for $200 or less, sometimes under $100 or less. And I mean, I don't blame people, but everybody wants the best of both worlds. They want the $500 box for only $100. They want all the 1-of-1s, all the hits, and not have to pay for the premium of it. And that's why I personally like Leaf, because A, it's cheap, and B, it's guaranteed stuff. And I think the designs are really cool. It's a dilemma. It's a complex for sure. And I mean, I don't know. I really don't know, because opening product seems to be become a very in-depth rocket science. for a lot of people. I think it's become much more complicated than it needs to be. You're looking for baseball, you're looking for basketball, here's your options. What's your price point? You're looking to stay under $200. Here's more options. Oh, but that one, that $500 box has 3 autos.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sorry, you're not going to get it unless you're going to cough up $500. But I have this Leaf product here for only $100 that gives you 3 autographs. So, but it's not licensed though. I'm not going to go on this. I'm done. I'm done. Nope.
Go on the rant. Go on the rant. Go on the rant. Keep going.
I can't. I could rant about a few certain topics. Actually, a bunch of topics. Let's be honest. For probably the whole 45 minutes to an hour that window that we shoot for. You could just sit there, listen, watch, relax, drink your coffee to start the morning, and just listen to me rant all day. And I don't think that would be exciting for you, me, or anybody listening to this. But I need to calm down. It's too early for this. Too early for this. I need water.
Very passionate about your Leaf products.
I think it's more so a passion.
I think it goes back to the whole.
I was going to say, I think it's more so just a passion of the hobby
versus investor.
Ooh, that's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
Because I feel like Leaf is more a collector's item. Because if you're looking for baseball to collect some great autos, then Leaf is probably the way to go. But if you want the money, if you want to make your money back, or at least the chance to make your money back and then some, you got to go with the licensed stuff that everyone wants.
So I got up to grab the cards that I opened from the Leaf box that I opened that actually came out actually the opening comes out today, Wednesday for us, but for people that are watching it came out yesterday because you're seeing this on Thursday. And I pulled some really cool cards. I'll just run through it real quick just to show you the awesome, cool designs. These are all numbered to 10. Curtis Mead, 1 of 9. Again, auto Curtis Mead, top prospect for the Rays that came up this year. Ezekiel Tovar, 8 of 9. He was a high-profile prospect, but he played the whole season for the Rockies. Obviously no one's going to talk about him because that team sucked, but he played well, and I think playing the whole season as a rookie means something. Here's Khalil Watson. This is 2 of 5. Marlins then traded to the Cardinals. Still top prospect. Let's see what else we have. One of the best prospects in all of baseball, Jackson Chourio, 5 of 5. I mean, I know we've talked about him before, Ricky, and wow. I know he is obviously outside of Jackson Holiday. He's probably the best prospect in all of baseball. And then you're talking about collectors versus flippers. James Wood, you're right. Here's a Tom Glavine. All I had was young guys, young prospects, but the checklist does have veteran guys too. This Tom Glavine is 1 of 1. I don't know if the camera's going to be able to pick that up. And again, these 3, I opened 2 boxes. So 3 cards for $100. Well, the box is $100. And I mean, first of all, what box are you getting 6 autographs out of for baseball? That cost no less than $300, $400. Not a single one. Unless you go for flawless or something. But that's unlicensed. Now I'm done.
You sure? Because I know you wanted to talk about card shows.
I was gonna say, yeah. Can we pivot from this conversation? Because like I said, I'll just keep going on and on and on and on and on. Card shows, yes. So with the winter, I should say, with the fall here and the winter approaching, and football season, the games are getting more meaningful, and the market's going to be impacted more significantly with each passing game. Card shows are going to be a lot more prominent for people, regardless what your plan of attack is. Buying, selling, trading, collecting, flipping, whatnotting, eBaying, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. And card shows play an integral role in the hobby, which I think a lot of people do understand that because they'll watch videos, they'll go to card shows, they're excited to go to their first show, they set up at shows, whatever it is. So what I want to ask you, Ricky, is as someone who likes to buy cards for whether yourself, to invest, to sell them, to do whatever with them, how do you prepare yourself for a show? Like, walk me through like the way that you kind of get ready for a show, and how do you figure out what your plan of attack is going to be?
Well, first and foremost, you got to know if you want to what you got to know your game plan. You got to know if you're going just to buy for PC. You got to know if you're going to buy for investment, or you got to know if you're going to buy for flip. And then you have to figure out your budget. You got to figure out which players you want for whether you're investing, flipping, or collecting. And I mean, sometimes it's a little more fun to go in without a plan because then you see something you like, you get it. But I feel like if you want to make some money off this hobby, you have to have a plan.
Does the Now I think the fall, like from like October to like probably April, maybe like February, is like prime show season. Now those months are predominantly owned by football. Obviously, you have other sports going on as well. But does the time of year, do you think, play a factor into card shows in in any way?
Um, I mean, obviously during the summer people are more out and about or whatever, but I feel like during the fall it's more basketball, football fans, and those are really the two right now, at least the two more expensive sports in the hobby. So in that sense, I feel like that's why it may fall, winter, whatever, may be a little more busy in the sports card show market because there would be more buyers and sellers at that time as opposed to summer when only baseball is going on. So maybe uh, I mean, hey, maybe this is the best time for the sports card market right now.
So you
Sports
kind of
card show
alluded
market,
to
at
it.
least.
You kind of alluded to it like the summertime, people are out and about doing stuff, and that's very true, whether it's at shows or whether it's, here at the shop. I know, June and July are typically the slower months, for me. But when it comes to the fall and the winter months, it does pick up because from what we were talking about earlier, you got all four of the major sports going on. Depending on the year, you might have a World Cup, or you might have an Olympic, you might have, just, some, worldwide events, or, whatever it may be. And I think those all factor into it, but they all oftentimes take place in the fall to winter months. Now, obviously, with the exception of the Summer Olympics, but even those take place in like August, though, and that's like football season starting to ramp up. Baseball season,
Mm-hmm.
the dog days of summer, the playoffs are looming. But like I do believe that the time of year does play a huge factor into it. And again, going with a plan, going without a plan during this time of year, you have a lot at your disposal: football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever it may be. Typically, I would like to say in the summer months, spring summer months, outside of the NFL draft, it's probably just going to be basketball, some football, I mean some hockey, depending, if it's like playoff time, and of course baseball. But this hobby is driven on football, and football's at the quietest that it's going to be, the lowest that market will be. And some people don't want to sell their cards during that time. People rather buy them because the market is low, so they want to get into that stuff for super cheap. At the end of the day, I mean, card shows and the hobby in general is very seasonal. It is very seasonal. Now, I want to ask you, Ricky, since you kind of also alluded to this, is figuring out what you're going to do, buy, sell, or trade. Do you think that when you go to a show, do you think you should try to buy first? Do you think you should try to sell first? Now, does it even matter?
Again, it all goes
It is
back
very
to what
dependent,
you
yes.
want to do. at the shows. Yeah. So maybe if you want to sell some stuff that you've been holding on to for a little bit to get more money to buy more cards, maybe make your first rounds, see which tables are buying, see who's looking to buy whatever. Go up to them, hey, I have this card. I know you have to make your money. I'll take this much. See what they say. And if that works, awesome. Now you have more money to spend. If not, then you might have to start buying now with what you
Because
got.
I feel with the shows is if you're going there to buy, you want fresh stuff. You want new stuff. If you're going there to sell, you probably
Mm-hmm.
have stuff that you've been holding and that you want to offload, or maybe it's just the right time to sell that player. So just again, it's super dependent. Everyone's in a different spot. The market's always changing, but I do believe it's better to sell first because then it just gives you more capital to buy. Let's say you're bringing $100 with you and
Mm-hmm.
you sell $100 worth of stuff. Well, now you have $200 to go out and spend to amass more inventory to better the cards that you have compared to what you walked in with because you already knew you were going to spend the $100. So why spend the $100 and keep the $100 of
Mm-hmm.
inventory that you had when you were trying to go and move it? Now, again, this is super easier said than done. So I don't want people to be like, oh, you guys are just talking about, people buying stuff, but you might be overpricing it if they don't want your junk. Like, okay, it is super, super dependent. And there's so many moving variables. We're just speaking in a vacuum, just general, guidelines and such, because every show is different. Every collector is different. Every vendor is different. And everybody's plan at the show is going to be different. So go ahead.
So as a as a sports card shop owner, you actually have a more unique perspective than a lot of other people do. How do you go into shops? How do you go into shows? What's your mentality?
So I oftentimes go to shows as a vendor, like unless it's like the national or something like that. So obviously, just in that
Mm-hmm.
essence, my mindset's to sell. But I don't want to just sell stuff because I do think that's kind of boring. I'm a huge proponent of buying, selling, and trading. I'm there to move old inventory, but I also want to make use of my time and bring in fresh inventory because as a shop, I do pride myself on having fresh stuff. So whether you're coming in on a Monday and you're going to be back on Friday, I want you to see new stuff. Whether you're coming in once a month or every other week, whatever it is, I want you to see fresh new stuff. So when I first get there and I'm all set up and such, I think whether like it's the same mindset as if I'm walking the floor, bringing stuff in that I want to move. I want to try to sell first and gain some capital. Stuff maybe that's not selling. Maybe try to go walk the floor, look to trade or to sell. Just kind of initiate it myself, and then maybe towards the end of the show or end of day one, if it's a 2-day show, then maybe try to go buy. I do think the second day, if it's a 2-day show, or the last hour or two of a 1-day show, are the best times to buy, regardless of being a vendor or not. Just because people don't want to take the
Mm-hmm.
stuff home, they may not have made a lot, so they just want to kind of just capitalize and make their time worth it. Show their wife that they made some money today, whatever it may be. Again, different situations, different variables, and such like that. But I guess if I was to put it in like an order, sell, trade, buy. Like that's like kind of the order, sell in the morning, trade in the afternoon, buy later in the day. And I think every show is different, so it may not always be like that. It might get out of order, but being a vendor, being a shop owner, that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Because I'm not setting up to just buy stuff. I'm set up to sell stuff, but I don't want to just sell. I want to buy, sell, and trade. And it's funny because people will come up to the table all the time. Show starts at 9:02. Are you buying? It's like, pal, buddy. If I was buying, I'd be walking the floor like you are.
Say good
And if you're
morning
selling,
first.
you should be set up as a vendor like me. And I think it's another tangent I could go on, card show etiquette and mannerisms at a show, which I've made plenty of YouTube videos
Made a
on the
whole
channel,
video
but
about it.
it's 5 do's and 5 don'ts. It's just people kind of like, and it's not just kids too, it's adults as well. And they just don't think twice of it. But that's kind of like my game plan about it. Big yawn. Are we keeping you awake?
Yeah. No.
But like a show like The National, because I think that's a huge what's the word? When something stands apart. Oh god, I can't think of the word. Not an anomaly. Oh god, it's like you have a set sample of data, but then you have something that
Variable?
stands
No,
completely.
no.
Oh god. I'm not gonna be able to think of it. Okay, well, for those who are into math and science and stuff, I can't think of the
I
word,
was
but
in bed with my camera off for that talk.
when you have a set group of data points that are all roughly close to each other, then plus or minus whatever, they're super close, but then you just have one that's all the way outlier. There we go. It's an outlier. I think the national is an outlier.
Oh,
That you go there, like when we went there, a few months ago, I was looking to buy. I think you were looking to buy, but you were also looking to sell and to trade. Me personally, I was just looking to buy stuff. So every show is very, very different, I would say.
man, the National was a great show.
So it's what are
That
we?
was a great show.
November, December. We're 9 months away. 9 months away. Time's ticking. Time's ticking.
Next year is going to be
Uh,
in Cleveland. Next year's in Cleveland. And then the next two after that are in Chicago again, actually.
are you even going to be in Chicago come then? Still?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Oh,
we'll see.
okay. Okay. I do want to talk about one more thing about card shows though, because I know we're coming up against it soon, but I do want to talk about one more thing, and I think when people go to sell stuff, again, I'm not trying to like pick on anybody. I'm just making points. Kids, adults, vendors do it too. Obviously, people that just walk the floor do it. There's a premium to selling at a card show. And I don't think people truly fully understand what that is. Oh, last comp did
Mm-hmm.
$100. Well, I'm going to start asking at 100. As you should. You should start asking at the 100 at the last comp or the average comps. That's fine. But don't expect to get that from vendors or people buying your cards because you're getting cash on site. Now, of course, you could go sell it on eBay and walk away with the 14% fees that you're going to lose, or 13, whatever the hell it is, and walk away with $86. That's fine. You can go do that. But there's a process behind that. Package it, ship it, print the label out, bring it to the post office, all that stuff. Wait for the money to hit your account in a couple of days, whenever. So, but like, how much do you value selling at a show at like a 70 or 75% compared to selling on eBay for 86%? Like, how much does that really truly mean to you, and which one would you prefer?
Um, I do like the show transactions because then you could you're talking to a person, you're dealing with a person, as opposed to pressing a few buttons and selling your card. So I feel like the interaction alone might be worth a little more. But I mean, if you're trying to make your top dollar or whatever, then eBay is maybe the way to go. But I just feel like the relationships and transactions that you make at the shows might make it a little more worth it.
So I think like the premium that people kind of misunderstand or don't fully understand is you're getting cash on site. Now, of course, there's going to be Venmo deals, PayPal deals, Cash App deals, whatever, Zelle deals,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But most of the time it's cash. And you're getting that right on the spot in your hand to go do whatever you want with it. Whether you go buy another card, whether you go take, your girl out to lunch, or whether you just, go buy groceries, whatever. That's your money to go do right then and there that day. And I think that's a huge premium, especially in a world, a society where economic situations may be more difficult and challenging for a lot of people, where they may not be able to wait the 2-3 days for the money to hit and transfer. And then you got to take it and transferred possibly to another account and such like that. So like, is that cash to go do whatever you want with it worth? I think my UPS driver's here again.
Another
What?
big thing too about selling, um, another big thing too about selling for cash at the shows is not that I'm an accountant or anything, but they don't come with the tax forms. That's the big thing. You got to remember when you're selling cars on eBay and getting um, sales through PayPal, gifts and services, and all that stuff. You got to remember at the end of the year, you're going to get a tax bill for that.
And you're also going to get, a tax form for Venmo and Cash App and PayPal over $600 compared to, what was it, $20,000, I think it was, in years past. So, like, even if you sell a card, like two cards
Yeah,
for $300 each, you're
it
going to
went
get a
from
form. And if you just use it like twice or three times a year and you're making like a couple
it went
$100,
from
it doesn't really matter. Huh?
it went from 20,000 to 600.
Yeah. In 1 year. And I think some of the politicians are trying
That's
to get it
insane.
back to like 10,000, I think.
Insane.
So like for me, who I accept a lot
Yeah.
of Venmo, Cash App payments, and I'm going to dabble with the whole tax situation this year. I want to familiarize myself with the process. And if it really screws me on April 15th, with my accountant, then I'm going to adjust and adapt and maybe charge for Venmo and Cash App purchases to cover myself because I don't want to pay for that.
Mhm.
Personally, because I already have so much overhead as it is. But um, that's just something to also consider is people may not want to accept Venmo and Cash App for that purpose to avoid that. So again, now you're limiting yourself to only cash purchases. So and like now when you need to sell the card, but you're only
Mhm.
accepting cash purchases, which is fine. Now you're really putting yourself in a corner. But with just a couple minutes left, Ricky, I appreciate, as always, the in-depth conversations that we've been having today. As we wrap this up, do you have any exiting thoughts, comments, concerns, or anything you want to kind of mention to leave with between now and our next episode in a couple weeks?
Well, first and foremost, by James Wood. Um,
Always.
I I feel like someone who's also a really huge buy right now for me at least, which is crazy to even say. I feel like Otani is so cheap right now, so cheap right now. And if you can, I would pick up a few of his cars because with the off seasons coming up, him being named MVP, him getting his new contract and all that stuff, he he's due for a boom. He's due for a boom.
I think Otani's market is very down right now. But I mean, then again, injured, missed the last month of the season. Like, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you look at any player who's going to miss time, that gets injured, that has an impending free agency, like oftentimes that does happen. It's just Otani's kind of an anomaly of a
Even like
player,
Trout is so cheap right now.
and he's at least probably classified as a goat at this point. And I think people kind of underestimate um, being able to pick up veterans and Hall of Famers and such like that, which he will be. My exiting thought, as we literally have 1 minute, my exiting thought for today's episode is going to be patience. We kind of talked about it at the beginning, but please have patience. Whether you're at a show, whether you're investing, whether you're buying, whatever it is, have patience. Joe Burrow was a cheap player. Week 1, week 2, week 3. Now he's playing a lot better, and he's looking like the MVP candidate, the Super Bowl contender quarterback that he is. But that will wrap it up for today's episode. Ricky, as always, I really appreciate you joining for today's episode. And hopefully we have a good couple weeks between now and our next recording. I'll see you soon.
See you guys.